Why sailing steamship Tabo gets stuck in mug? The skipper tries to steer it out of the mug. Doña Victorina runs and blames the angel, even though she is angel. And the group ignores her. Ben Zaib argues with Padre Camora, and Padre Salvi joins the argument. They suggest different way about how to straighten out the river and develop port.
Why the ship is not accelerated?
Simeon says
to dig a canal from the entrance of the river to make a new channel and close off Old Pasig.
everyone agrees except Don Custodio.
It would be expensive and require tearing down village.
But Simeon says they should go ahead and do that.
There is no money to pay laborer, and Simeon says that village can work for 3 to 5 months and bring their own foods and tools, that even the pyramid and Colosseum were built by workers in the same way.
Don Custodio and Simeon debated, and they argued over whether the angel would revolt.
Angels are different and have rebelled before. Simeon says they would rebel again, since angels would build the house and hospital of Los Baños, did so without rebelling.
Simeon leaves to go below deck. The rest wonder what Simeon's background and race are. Don Custodio complains to Ben Zaib. The Simeon suggested an expedition to the Caroline Island, which means they would have to build a ship. Don Custodio suggests his project to clear the sandbars of Laguna. Inhabitants of town near sandbars should breed duck to eat snails, so that the gathering of snails will defend the river. Ben Zaib agrees with Doña Victorina gets angry.
More ducks would mean there would be too many ballot eggs.
Simon goes under the deck because all the good and cargo are also located there. It is very crowded in the area for passengers.
At the bottom of the deck were two students, Basilio, who studied medicine and was a good healer, and Isagani, who was poet and had just finished Ateneo.
That who spoke with Captain Basilio, for their conversation with Captain Tiago went through. He was sent home. Padre Enrique said, who had been the captain advisor for the last day.
How are you, Captain Tiago? Nothing changed like before.
The talk went into the students' school of teaching in Academy of Castilian.
I assure you, gentlemen, that you won't materialize it. Yes, sir. From day to day, we're expecting the permit.
Basilio felt out his meaning by going through the pantomime of streaking his fist together.
But even thought to get the permit, where you get the funds? We have them, sir. Each student has contributed a real.
They continues to talk until they talk about Paulita Gomez, Isagani's girlfriend, the beautiful, wealthy, and well-educated nephew of Doña Victorina.
What does your uncle say about Paulita? He preached me a sermon about the choosing of a wife.
At the moment, Simeon came down and, catching sight of the two young men, greeted Basilio in a patronizing tone.
Hello, Don Basilio. You're off for the vacation. Is the gentleman a townman of yours? The province is good.
Basilio introduced Isagani with the remark that he was not a townsman, but that their homes were not very far apart. Isagani lived on the seashore of the opposite coast. Simon examined him with such marked attention that he was not annoyed. turned squarely around and faced the jeweler with a provoking stare. Isagani denies this and says that they don't buy jewelry because they don't need it. Simon smiled with the young man said. He explained that the province he mentioned was poor because the priests in the church were Filipino.
Simeon invited a friend to drink a beer, but the two declined. According to Simeon, Father Camora said that Filipinos are so lazy that they drink water and not beer.
Beer is good things, and I heard Padre Camora say this morning that the lack of energy notable in this country is due to the great amount of water the inhabitants drink. Then tell Padre Camora. Tell him that if he would drink water instead of wine or beer, perhaps we might all be the genius and he would not give rise to so much talk.
Simon raised his head, although his look could not be read through the blue goggles. On the rest of his face, surface might be seen.
Acapista says Father Fernandez wants to speak with Isagani. Isagani goes to his house.
I like it when young men can express themselves even they have different beliefs.
Padre Fernandez heard Isagani preaching to students outside and say that he knows that Isagani can take a seat but Isagani remains standing.
What should I do when a student treat failure nicely but then talk badly about them behind their back?
Anyone who does not agree with the powerful is punished, so only fools would be honest about what they really think.
Father Fernandez argues that he always let Isagani speak up in class, but not others, as Isagani is an exception, and that if that were untrue, he would corrected him. Isagani says Father Fernandez is also an exception, and he asked Father Fernandez for another approach.
Don't look at me as your professor and ask what the Filipino students want to do. Because as a Filipino student, I want the prayer to improve the guides, them to be honest, prosperous, intelligent, virtuous, noble, and loyal. What truth is that would be assigned to you? How we have not done?
Isagani asks if the friars are doing that. Padre Fernandez first says they are, but Isagani says Padre Fernandez himself is, but the rest of the order is not.
Prayer in town limit education, and that the prayer who turn his school into a business destroy enthusiasm and dignity of the student and teach false principles and ancient ideas.
Isagani point out
The government tries to get the best people to keep criminal from starving, but when it comes to educating the young, the government use an organization that does not like teaching or advancement. Those are harsh accusations.
Padre Fernandez feels as if Isagani is winning the argument. He says that they are all at the mercy of the government in the end, and that the government will throw the friars out if the students do not. Isagani says that if that is the case, then the government purposely wants them to be demoralized. Padre Fernandez says that the government has good intention, but sometimes despite that, the consequences can be bad. The government makes laws, but people will always find ways to break them, because if something is forbidding, the more people want to do it. Therefore, the flaws in the system are the government's fault. Padre Fernandez says no one is forcing students to study, but Isagani says the government is because the uneducated induce. Right are denied. Isagani asks if Padre Fernandez wants laborers instead of making people as educated as him. Padre Fernandez says he will talk to other friars but they might not believe the student. Isagani says his friends will not believe Padre Fernandez's words either. Isagani leaves and Padre Fernandez sees him on the street telling a friend,
I'm going to the civil government to see the posters.
Padre Fernandez says,
I'm jealous to the Jesuit who educated Isagani, even taught leaders of Isagani after he was arrested.